Hello there and welcome back to another review. So we all like obscure, out there, surreal movies, don't we? We all like movies like that now and then. So how does the idea of Nicolas Cage beating the crap out of some animatronic animals grab you? How does that float your boat? Well, that is exactly what Willy's Wonderland is. Take sort of John Wick, cross it with Five Nights at Freddy's and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and you'll be sort of on your way to sort of understanding what you'll be getting with Willy's Wonderland. Directed by Kevin Lewis and made in 2021. Now, the idea of Cage beating the crap out of these bloodthirsty animatronics sounds like a neat idea, right? It sounds, on paper, that sounds interesting at the very least. This was one film, the films I was very curious about seeing. I had a lot of interest in it before I actually got to see it. It seemed out there, it seemed bizarre, it seemed, it seemed weird. All these things. You've got Nicolas Cage on board. And Cage himself obviously had enough confidence in it to actually produce the movie as well. Now, I did enjoy the movie for the sheer novelty alone. I will say right away, though, that unfortunately, it is a novelty that wears off very quickly. It's one of the movies I'm sure that in years and years to come, people in the future will be like, "What, did you see that movie where Nicolas Cage just beats up loads of animatronics that are trying to kill him?" It's one of them movies, and unfortunately, it doesn't quite... you get exactly what is printed on the tin with this one. What exactly is printed on the label, that is exactly what you get. Nicolas Cage is beating the crap out of these things. So it'd be one that I think it'd be, and of course, the film screams B movie vibes, and of course, it has cult film written all over it. Give it a few years, and I think it will be a cult movie. My main gripe with the film, though, I did enjoy it, is that it's executed so damn straight, and some of the plot and characters are so by the numbers that it actually becomes a bit tiresome. Now, if you like this movie, good for you. I think it just falls short of what it's trying to do. It does become a bit by the numbers in places. It does become a bit tiresome. It's one of them movies that probably would have been better. I think it's like a maybe 45-minute movie, even just an hour long. It sort of outstays its welcome a little bit. Whilst entertaining and good enough, unfortunately, it just doesn't hold up, in my opinion, for the full running time. It's like once you've seen one of the animals come alive, you've pretty much seen it all. It doesn't sort of build into anything. It's just one after the other, and that's all that really happens. Hats off to Cage for trying something as bold as this. It's just like, in like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, if you have seen this movie, it's almost like the filmmakers in that were sort of winking at you saying, yeah, we know it's silly and it's meant to be. Here, though, the tone seems off. It seems, like I say, it's too... For what the premise is, it should have been a bit more like subtle winks at the camera, just like, it should have been a bit more slapsticky. There should have been a hell of a lot more humour in the movie. And the balance just seems off in this one, that Lewis isn't sure if he wants it to be like a hard-edged thriller or like a tongue-in-cheek cult movie romp. And because it doesn't settle on either, it ends up being neither, if that makes sense. The film, I don't think is, and I will say, I don't think it's very well directed. Nothing separates any of the animal characters from each other. No fight scene that Nick Cage has with them is any different from the last one. And like I say, after a half hour, you have pretty much seen all the film has to offer. After about 20-25 minutes, you've seen all that you're going to get for the next hour. Nothing really sort of builds. Nothing really sort of goes anywhere. You've pretty much seen it all, and it just sort of repeats itself for the next hour. It's the kind of film that probably in the hands of someone else, like going back to sort of my Last Night in Soho review, somebody like Edgar Wright, I think would have had a lot more fun with this. I think he'd have put a lot more inventive stuff in there, and I think if in something like a guy like that's hands, it could have been really amazing. The dialogue is really clunky. The fight scenes are shot poorly, and it's such a shame because on paper, as I mentioned at the start of the review, this seems awesome. It seems a real awesome movie, and it is for about half hour. For half hour of it, it's fine, but it just outstays its welcome. And I think the premise alone, unfortunately, when it's just a cool premise or a different premise, that's not enough always to carry a movie. You've got to have... there's got to be stuff that happens that sets it aside from something that happened just a minute ago. As I say, when he fights any of these animatronics, It's no different to the last one he fought, and the one before that, and the one before that. As I say, the first half hour, fine, but then it's just sort of rinse and repeat for the next hour. I mean, Cage is fine in it, even though I wish they could have given his character some lines rather than just like the odd grunt. There are things to enjoy with the movie. I just felt it probably isn't as good, unfortunately, as it could have been. I'm not, saying the film's terrible. I'm not, and if, like I say, if you like this movie, good for you. I just personally felt a bit let down by it. I was expecting a lot more, from what it is, but as I say, if you want to see Nick Cage beating up some demonic animatronics, you've come to the right place. So the film opens with this couple screaming and terrified down this corridor. We then meet Nick Cage, who has no name in the movie other than the janitor. He is just known as the janitor. That's all he doesn't speak. We don't know his name. We don't know where he's driving to. We know nothing about him. And at the end of the movie, we still know nothing about him. So he's driving along, complete with shades and a sexy beard, and his tyres get stung. He gets picked up by this tow truck and gets informed that some kids must have laid the stinger. We also meet Liv, who is about to set fire to Willy's Wonderland arcade, sort of a kid's like birthday party, like sort of amusement arcade park type thing. But he's picked up by a sort of guardian who is the sheriff in town. So Cage can't pay the car repairs, so he has to sort of work it off, right? This is sort of the hole where the film really does sort of begin. So he has to work it off. Jed, the mechanic, phones Tex, and basically what he's got to do is clean Willy's Wonderland, okay? He's got to be the janitor. He's got to clean up the mess. And he's got to do it for one night, and his car will be fixed. They say it shut down after like some kids crawled in on the creatures or something. So with Cage's character, you learn nothing. Like I mentioned, no idea who he is, where he's come from, where is he going, what is he doing, nothing at all. So Liv's friend come along just there for cannon fodder, basically, later on. She's sort of the main, like the lead actress in this, but her friends are just there, they're just going to be, already they're just going to be lambs to the slaughter in this. They're just there to just add to the kill count, is all that's going to happen. So, as I say, it's one of them movies in about 20 years or so where it will be one of them. Wait, did Nicolas Cage make that? Have you seen that movie where Nicolas Cage beat up these, up these animatronics? So Cage starts cleaning Willy's, puts his drinks in the fridge. Of course, all the mascots are alive. The ostrich comes alive, and Cage starts beating it to death with his mop, even doing like a Mortal Kombat style fatality by like ripping out its electronics. Does do a few. It's got a bit of, but it's a shame the fight sequences. Well, they are fights. Bear in mind, it is sort of like Nicolas Cage beating the crap out of them. But sort of how fight scenes were done in movies, sort of pre-Matrix in Hollywood movies and things like that in Western releases, where the camera was always really up close and you can't really see anything that's happening in the fight sequence. It's very much the same here. You can't really. This could have been, if they got in some not like a really awesome fight choreographer. There could have been an actual quite an awesome fight movie here, but unfortunately it's not. It's filmed so up close and you can't really see you can see what's going on, but it's just so tightly framed in. So he has to keep taking his energy drinks at regular intervals. I love how at one point he was going to take the ostrich corpse out to the trash and just comes back in like what is happening is not fazing him at all. Next he does battle with the gorilla and takes him out by stomping his face in like the urinal. As I say, what gets me is nothing separates the animals from like one another. All they do is just come at Cage. That is it. There's no sort of gimmick with each one. It's not like any one of them behave any different from the last one. They just go at Cage. That is it. And then, like I say, it's sort of that Five Nights at Freddy's type of thing, killer clowns from outer space, where it is silly. But I just wish they'd have injected a bit more humour in there. It really could have benefited from a lot more comedic moments. And it's let down by the fact that they make Nicolas Cage's character don't talk, which is fine in some movies. But here it could have done, like with what's happening, there's so much potential for so many cool, funny one-liners. Like there really could have been some real zingers in there. There really could have been some funny catchphrases and things like that. It could have been like almost like an Ash from Evil Dead kind of character. There could have been like some odd, like sort of, like groovy lines and things like that. But we don't get any of that because they just decide to make him, like just silent for some reason. So after killing the gorilla, he puts it in a trash bag by the door. So the girl Liv and her cronies come to save Cage, and she sneaks in via the vent. She gets ambushed by the crocodile, then meets Siren Sarah. Look out for some massive CGI when her friends are on the roof discussing their plan, like the sort of the background. When I say CGI, it's obvious that it's not actually there. Chris and Bobby fall in and into the Willy's Wonderland, and like the rest follow. The whole idea was Cage was going to be like a human sacrifice, and it was all planned, but more of that gets explained sort of as the film goes on. We learn the restaurant arcade was, I think the owner was owned by Jerry Robert Lewis. It was Jerry Robert Lewis's sort of brainchild, and he was like a serial killer who employed other serial killers, and the whole idea is they performed like a satanic ritual, so their spirits lived on, kind of thing, in these creatures. So if you've even got elements a bit of child's play in there as well. Tex reopens it and they think Willy got to him. Bobby and Kathy go to the super happy fun room. This is some of Liv's friends, as we need a sex scene in the movie, right? In terms of plot, no, the film isn't exactly original because it just takes, like I mentioned, like what Child's Play did, and it mixes it with Killer Clowns, Five Nights at Freddy's. You put all them in a pot, stir them together. This is the movie you get here. Even after learning, this was what's quite cool about the Cage character though, even though after learning the background about what's happening and what the whole premise is, and that he was going to be a sacrifice to give to the animals because they sort of had a truce with the local people, he just keeps cleaning. It's not bothered him at all. So like I said earlier, the problem with the movie is that it relies on horror too much. When I think it should, like I mentioned, it should be relying more on comedy, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space did. Thing is as well, Willy and his friends just aren't scary. They're not scary at all. Some of you might find them scary, but to me, like I say, first half hour fine, but it doesn't go into anything. It's not like it doesn't seem to amp up the ante at all. You've seen one, you've seen the next hour. So then the night comes alive and kills one of their crew. Chris phones the police. Bobby and Kathy are still having sex in the happy fun room, and Cage is just busy playing pinball at this point. Cage then proceeds to chop the knight's head off with his own sword, then snaps the crocodile's jaw wide open and takes the motor out. Turns out the police knew the machines were bad and Tex was going to have Willy's demolished, but the contractor and his family got killed. This I don't get. If it was Willy and his friends that killed him, that means they can leave the building. So why do they just stay there? I was never sure if that's explained. Like, if they can obviously... If the contractor was killed when it was going to be demolished, implying like Willy and the others done it, that means they can actually get out of the arcade. Why do they just stay there all the time? So the whole idea was to basically let the building rot, and the townsfolk made a deal basically with the puppets, like we'll sort of lure somebody in for you. I mean, the trouble is, it's not like there's loads of these animatronics. If Cage can beat them up really easy, he just beats them up with his fists and his mops. Just go in there with a shotgun or just bomb the place. It's all you got to do. Cage is just smashing their faces and killing them, which means they can die. So just throw bombs in and have done with it. A few Molotov cocktails in through the door, through the windows. Done. It's all over. You've killed Willy and his cronies. The sheriff took in Liv, who is a survivor from Willy's. Then we have her getting into a fist fight with the comedian one, which Cage drags along the floor by its tongue at one point. The thing is, like, when the dialogue in the movie is mainly from kids, the script needs to be wittier, way wittier. Like I say, it could have benefited, like say, from somebody like a Sam Raimi or an Edgar Wright directing something like this, because the novelty wears off quite quickly regarding what is happening, and that's a real shame, because I had so much enthusiasm with this movie. I was really looking forward to it, and I was like, that's my kind of film, like off the wall, crazy, quirky, stupid, daft, violent, horror, fun, that kind of thing. But it's not witty enough. It just, unfortunately, the script is not half as witty as it should be. So the sheriff turns up and she is apologising to Willy, and they cuff Cage, and her colleague is driving Liv home. She is giving him the guilt trip in the car about not saving Nicolas Cage. Though they get attacked by one of the puppets hiding on the roof, who speaks sort of Mexican, like Mexican Spanish. How it got there, anyone's guess. I have no idea how it got there. Cage is attacked by some more puppets and manages to get his hands free. So Liv beats the puppet that's ambushed them in the car with a baseball bat. It kills the male cop, Evan, I think his name is. I think it was like the turtle one that sort of ambushed them. And just walks away after. And what's good is she's beating him up, and like she just walks away after he begs no more. Why not kill him? Like she's beating him up, and he's like no more, no more, and she just walks away. Why not kill him and finish the job? I thought that you wanted to get rid of this place a lot and the creatures in it. So after beating them, Cage just carries on cleaning, keeps taking his drink and still playing pinball, even dancing whilst doing so at one point. I mean, couldn't they have just given him some lines? Any lines? I mean, this had all the makings to be like a sort of like I mentioned, an Ash from Evil Dead, but just anything would have done. And it was probably, not to take anything away from Nicolas Cage, but it probably was an easy day at the office for him, to be fair. Fight's not that well filmed. Even the soundtrack is mediocre. At best, it could have even had a really banging score to it or some really cool tunes going on. The soundtrack is mediocre and totally forgettable. So Willy ends up clawing like Lund, the sheriff, in half, and then comes after Cage, who gets messed up at first. He does get messed up. So the end is just Cage whacking the crap out of a giant like weasel with his bag of cans and his sticks. He then proceeds to rip Willy's head off. The thing is, this is the same kind of thing Cage has been doing the whole movie. This is the thing. I was expecting, maybe at the end when he's fighting Willy, it'll really go into something. It'll really turn into but the ending of Willy's Wonderland. It doesn't. It's the same kind of thing he's been doing all movie. We get the last guy, the big man himself, Willy Weasel, and it's no different to any of the other fights. Like, there is no gimmick with any of them. Tex and Jed return the next morning, find the lock's not on. Talking about a mediocre soundtrack, we get Free Bird by Leonard Skinner playing there. I mean, how many times have we all heard Free Bird? Amazing tune, amazing song, classic song, but Free Bird again, the place is clean. What about the kids' bodies? I suppose they got taken out with the trash too as well. Liz has walked all the way back to Willy's after being ambushed in the car. One of the creatures, Siren Sarah, blows up Tex and Jed in the car and herself too. Cage and Liv ride over the turtle one as they sort of drive off. The one she didn't kill, and that's the end of the movie. But what a wasted opportunity this film was, and it pains me to say that because, I was really looking forward to it, really looking forward to it. And if you enjoy this movie, I'm really happy for you, and I'm pleased it does have an audience. But I was expecting a bit more. I was expecting, like I said, a bit more comedy there. I was expecting it to be maybe a bit more scarier as well. But I'd say when they drive off the end, I suppose the whole idea is Cage is just going to be like Liv's guardian now, and them two are just driving off. Now, whilst okay, it just could have been so much better. It just really could have been so much better, and that's I think just disappointment is, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just disappointed with it. But if you want Cage beating the crap out of giant puppets, then you're in for a treat. But like I say, there's only so long I can watch that. It starts and you thought, okay, I can get into this, and then another 10 minutes goes by, he's beat another one up. Another 20 minutes, he's beat another one up. And even at the end when he's taking on Willy Weasel, it's the same thing we've seen at the start of the movie. So it's just a shame. It's a wasted opportunity. But let me know what you think of Willy's Wonderland. If you've seen it, did you like it? Was you a bit disappointed with it like I was? And post your thoughts and comments below. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.